The apartment was quiet, but my heart was screaming. I'd been living here with her for months, each shared space pulling at the secret I'd kept buried. My love for her, not just as a roommate, but deeper, the kind that twisted in my chest every time our hands brushed. My heart thudded against my ribs as I fumbled with my keys, the day's exhaustion weighing me down. I pushed the door open, expecting the usual quiet, her humming in the kitchen, maybe. Instead, there she was, standing at the counter, my journal open in her hands. The pages fluttered slightly under the soft light, words spilling out that I'd never meant her to see. Everything we'd built, the trust, the closeness, it could shatter right there. Rejection would end us. I froze. My words caught in my throat as she looked up, her eyes meeting mine. I didn't come here looking for this. When we met 6 months ago, it was through a mutual friend at that coffee shop downtown, the one with the mismatched chairs and the steam always curling from the espresso machine. She was nursing a black coffee, her fingers tracing the rim of the mug, and I was hiding behind a book, pretending not to notice how the light caught in her hair. We'd both just moved to the city, me from a small town upstate, her from somewhere in the Midwest, and the friend joked we should room together to cut costs. It made sense on paper. Affordable rent, someone to split chores with. But from that first awkward tour of the apartment, with its peeling wallpaper and the faint smell of old wood, I felt the pull. Living with her was like breathing in sync without realizing it. Morning started with the gurgle of the coffee maker, the rich, bitter scent filling the air as we shuffled around the kitchen in our robes. She'd hand me a mug, our fingers brushing just enough to send a spark up my arm, and we'd talk about nothing. The weather, the commute, the latest book she'd recommended. Those talks stretched into evenings, late nights when the city lights flickered outside our window like distant stars. We'd sit on the worn couch, legs tucked under us, sharing stories of past heartbreaks. Hers was a long-term girlfriend who'd left without warning, citing the distance as too much. Mine was similar, a woman who'd promised forever but faded when things got real. Vulnerability like that binds you. It made the apartment feel like a safe harbor, a place where we could be raw without the world intruding. But my feelings grew quietly, like roots under soil you don't see until they crack the surface. At first, it was admiration. Her laugh that filled the room, the way she'd listen with her head tilted, eyes soft and attentive. Then it deepened. I'd catch myself watching her as she chopped vegetables for dinner, the knife's steady rhythm matching my pulse, or when she'd stretch after a long day, her shirt riding up just enough to show the curve of her back. The proximity was intoxicating. Our bathroom shared, towels hanging side by side, her shampoo's floral scent lingering on my skin after a shower. Nights when she'd knock softly on my door, asking if I was awake, and we'd end up talking until the clock ticked past midnight. Voices low, the space between us charged with something unspoken. To cope, I started journaling more. It began as a habit from college, scribbling thoughts to clear my head, but now it was my confessional. I'd sit at the small desk in my room, the lamp casting a warm glow, and pour out the truth I couldn't say aloud. Entries about how her casual touch, a hand on my shoulder during a movie, made my breath hitch. How I imagined pulling her close during those late talks, turning friendship into something more. The words helped contain it, kept the secret from spilling over. She was empathetic, always sensing when I was off, offering a hug that lingered a beat too long, her arms strong and warm. It made confession feel safe, like she might understand, but terrifying too. Losing her would unravel everything. There were hints of tension between us, subtle as the creak of the floorboards underfoot. She'd pause mid-sentence sometimes, her gaze holding mine a fraction longer, or brush my hair from my face when it fell forward. Physical closeness in a small space amplified it. The way our knees touched under the kitchen table, or how she'd lean against me on the couch, her head nearly on my shoulder. I wondered if she felt it too, that undercurrent pulling us closer. But I never pushed. Friendship was our foundation, fragile in its perfection. That evening, exhaustion from a long shift at work blurred my edges. I'd meant to tuck the journal away, But there it sat on the counter, spine cracked open from my hurried read that morning. I grabbed my coat and headed out for groceries, the door clicking shut behind me. The rain had stopped, leaving puddles that reflected the streetlights, and I walked faster than needed, my mind replaying the day's frustrations. But something nagged, a forgotten list maybe. I turned back early, keys jingling in my pocket, unaware that everything was about to shift. Those days blurred together, each one layering more weight on the secret I carried. Mornings were the worst, or maybe the best. The line between them thinned over time. I'd wake to the soft clink of dishes in the kitchen, her footsteps padding across the linoleum. The coffee's aroma would pull me out of bed, sharp and grounding, mixing with the faint vanilla from her lotion. We'd meet at the small table, sunlight slanting through the blinds, catching the steam rising from our mugs. Her eyes would lift to mine over the rim, a shared glance that lasted a beat too long, warm and questioning. Did she sense it? Or was it just the ease of routine, the way our lives had woven without effort? I'd stir my cereal, the spoon scraping the bowl while she talked about her plans. Another shift at the bookstore, maybe a walk in the park if the weather held. Our knees would bump under the table, accidental at first, then something I anticipated, my skin tingling where we touched. I'd shift away, casual, blaming the cramped space, but inside, my thoughts churned. These moments fed the hunger I suppressed, the desire to reach across and trace her wrist, to turn the brush of fabric into something deliberate. Friendship demanded restraint. One wrong move, and I'd lose the only person who'd made this city feel like home. She was warmth embodied, unaware of the fire she sparked. After breakfast, she'd clear the plates, her hip grazing mine as we moved in the tight kitchen. "You okay?" she'd ask, voice soft if I seemed distant. I'd nod, forcing a smile, but her hugs, those quick pulls into her side when she laughed at something on her phone, stirred deeper yearnings. Her arms around me, firm yet gentle, the press of her cheek to my shoulder. It lingered in my body long after, a ghost touch that made evenings restless. I'd lie awake staring at the ceiling cracks, replaying the feel of her, the scent of her hair, clean soap and something earthier, like fresh rain on pavement. Fear gnawed at me constantly, a quiet undercurrent to our days. This wasn't just a roommate, she was chosen family, the stability I'd craved after years of fractured ties. Losing that bond to unrequited feelings, it terrified me. What if confession tipped the scale, turned our easy rhythm into awkward silences, or worse, her moving out? I'd built walls around my heart, high and unyielding, to preserve what we had. But suppressing it cost too. The constant guard, the way I'd edit my words mid-sentence, pulling back from vulnerability. Our late talks, once free-flowing, now skirted edges I dared not cross. Small conflicts dotted the weeks, fractures in the facade. One night, after a rough day, she reached for me on the couch, her hand on my knee during a movie. The screen flickered blue across her face, and for a second I leaned in, heart pounding. But I pulled away, mumbling about needing water, the creak of the floorboards loud in the sudden quiet. She frowned, eyes searching, but said nothing. The distance grew from there, me dodging her gaze at dinner, excusing myself early to my room. Unspoken words hung heavy in the air, thick as humidity before a storm, pressing on my chest. I'd hear her moving around after, the soft thud of her door closing, and wonder if she felt the shift, the coolness I'd introduced. The apartment amplified it all, every sound a reminder. The floorboards groaned under our steps, echoing the strain I hid. Evenings, we'd cook together, her chopping onions while I stirred sauce, the sizzle of oil masking my uneven breaths. Her laughter would cut through, light and inviting, but I'd respond clipped, retreating into chores. It created a quiet rift, not angry but palpable, the weight of what I wouldn't say settling between us like dust on the shelves. That tension peaked in the days before that fateful evening. I'd been overthinking everything, my journal filling with frantic entries about the risks of silence versus exposure. But work dragged, leaving me drained. When I left for groceries that night, the forgotten list pulled me back sooner than planned. keys heavy in my hand as I approached the door. I turned the key in the lock, the click echoing sharper than usual in the hallway. The door swung open to the familiar hush of our apartment, but something felt off. The air, thicker, charged. I kicked off my shoes, the cool tile grounding me for a second, and headed straight for the kitchen. That's when I saw it. My journal, splayed open on the counter under the dim pendant light, pages exposed like a wound. And there she was, leaning against the edge, her fingers holding the spine, eyes scanning the words I'd never meant for anyone to see. She didn't hear me at first. Her head was bowed, hair falling forward, the soft glow catching the strands. I watched her face change, brows knitting in curiosity, then widening as shock rippled across her features. Her lips parted slightly, a silent intake of breath. The room narrowed to that moment, the faint hum of the fridge the only sound breaking the stillness. My stomach dropped, a cold rush flooding my veins. I should have called out, grabbed the book, anything, but my feet rooted to the spot, heart slamming against my chest like it wanted to escape. She looked up then, her eyes locking onto mine. The journal stayed open between us, a chasm I couldn't bridge. Silence stretched, heavy and frozen, the kind that presses in from all sides. I could see the questions forming in her gaze. Confusion, maybe hurt. The entries she'd read, raw and unfiltered, spilling my feelings in ink. About her, the way her touch lingered in my thoughts, the ache of wanting more. It was all there, undeniable. Is this about me? Her voice broke the quiet, soft but steady, not accusing. Just a question, laced with something I couldn't place. Wonder, perhaps, or fear. My chest tightened, a vice squeezing my ribs, making each breath shallow. My hands clenched at my sides, nails digging into palms, the sting grounding me against the panic rising like bile. Heat flooded my face, ears ringing. This was it. The secret unraveling, thread by thread. I wanted to deny it, to laugh it off as fiction, but the words stuck, tangled in my throat. No, I managed, my voice cracking like dry leaves underfoot. It came out too quick, too weak. Exposure hit like a wave, cold and relentless, washing away the careful walls I'd built. I stepped forward, reaching for the journal, but my arm trembled, betraying me. She didn't move, just closed the book slowly, her fingers lingering on the cover. Her eyes searched mine, not with judgment, but a gentle pull, like she was trying to see past the lie. It sounds like me, the way you describe everything. Her tone held no edge, only that empathy she always carried, the kind that made her safe harbor feel real, but now it terrified me because it meant she understood. Too much. I swallowed hard, the air between us thick with our shared breaths, the faint scent of her tea still steaming nearby. My mind raced, replay the morning, curse the exhaustion that left it out, but denial crumbled under her gaze. I didn't mean for you to see that, I whispered, voice barely holding. Panic clawed higher, chest heaving now, hands unclenching only to fist again. She set the journal down, the soft thud echoing. Sit with me? It wasn't a demand, just an invitation, her hand gesturing to the stool beside her. We moved together, the counter a fragile barrier between us, the open pages facing away, but their weight pressing down all the same. The light flickered slightly, casting shadows that danced across her face, and I wondered what came next in this unraveling. We sat there, the stool hard under me, the counter cool where my elbows rested. She didn't open the journal right away. Her fingers traced the edge, hesitant, like it might bite. The air hung thick between us, our breaths sinking in the quiet. I could smell the faint chamomile from her tea, mixing with the lingering rain outside. My pulse thrummed in my ears, each beat a reminder of the exposure. Finally, she flipped it open. Her eyes scanned a page, then another. Listen to this, she said, voice steady but edged with something raw. Her laugh pulls me in every time, like sunlight breaking through clouds I didn't know were there. I want to hold on to that sound, make it mine. She paused, her gaze lifting to mine. Emotion threaded her words, not anger, but a tremor that made my stomach twist. I shifted, the wood creaking under me. Heat rose in my cheeks again. Those words, pulled from a night after we'd watched that old comedy, her head thrown back in genuine joy. I'd scribbled them in the dark, heart racing. Now they echoed back, stripping me bare. She turned the page, her hand brushing mine accidentally, or not, as she held it flat. The touch sparked, brief but electric. And here, the way she looks at me during those late talks, like I'm the only one who matters. If I could just say it, bridge that space. Her voice caught on the last part, eyes flicking away for a second. Confusion flickered there, mixed with surprise. Words tumbled from me then, fragmented, like pieces of a dam breaking. I didn't mean for you to read that. It's just thoughts. Private. My voice cracked, hands clenching in my lap, but the admission clawed out anyway. It's about you, all of it. The feelings I've been carrying. I love you. Not as a friend. More. And I know it could ruin everything. She set the journal down, slowly, the pages whispering shut. Her eyes searched mine, wide with the weight of it. You love me? Surprise laced her tone, but not rejection. Not yet. She leaned forward, elbows on the counter, closing the gap just enough that I felt her warmth. Why didn't you say something sooner? Braced for the fallout, body tensing, ready for her to pull away. Rejection loomed in my mind, her face hardening, words of pity or distance, my chest tightened, breath shallow. I was scared. Of this. Of losing what we have. You're my stability. The one person who gets me without trying. She nodded, slow, processing. Her fingers drummed lightly on the cover, a soft rhythm that filled the pause. I didn't see it coming, but reading this, it makes sense. The way you've been distant lately, pulling back. Her voice softened, laced with her own confusion. I've felt something too, unspoken, like when we sit close and the air shifts. The tension escalated, my heart pounding harder. Was this reciprocation or just kindness? I searched her face, the faint lines around her eyes from squinting at books, the way her lips pressed together now. Felt something. What do you mean? She exhaled, hand reaching out again, brushing the journal's edge near mine. Our knuckles grazed, skin warm against the cool paper. The air thickened further, shared breaths mingling, carrying the faint salt of nerves. Surprise, mostly, but attraction. I've caught myself watching you. The curve of your neck when you read, or how your hands move when you gesture. I thought it was just friendship deepening. But maybe not. Her words hung there, hints of vulnerability peeking through. She looked down, cheeks flushing slightly under the light. I've had my own secrets, attractions I haven't named. To women, before. But with you, it's different. Real. Terrifying. I leaned in, drawn despite the fear. You mean, you feel it too? My voice was a whisper, words bursting out in bursts. Hope flickered, warring with doubt. The counter felt smaller now, the barrier thinning. Yeah, she admitted, eyes meeting mine again, steady but vulnerable. I think I do, but I'm confused. We've built this life together as friends. What if I'm wrong? What if it changes everything? Tension coiled tighter, my body rigid, bracing. Rejection still shadowed her confusion, but her hand stayed near, fingers inching closer. The room felt warmer, breaths quicker, the journal a silent witness. It already has, I said, voice raw, but maybe for the better. She squeezed my hand then, brief but firm, the touch grounding. Emotions swelled, hers mirroring mine, a mix of fear and pull. The conversation stretched, back and forth, revelations peeling layers. Her past flings, quick and unfulfilling, my hidden yearnings during our shared silences, but overwhelm built, words faltering as tears pricked my eyes. I need a minute, she said finally, pulling back, hand slipping away. The air lightened slightly, but the weight remained. She stood, heading to the window, leaving me at the counter, heart racing in the sudden quiet. We both needed the break, space to breathe before diving deeper. She stood by the window for what felt like hours, her back to me, shoulders tense under the thin fabric of her shirt. I slipped away to my room, the door clicking soft behind me. The space felt too small now. Bed unmade from the morning, sheets tangled like my thoughts. I sank onto the edge, replaying every word, every glance. Her hand in mine, warm but fleeting. Had I imagined the pull in her voice, the confusion she admitted? Did it mask pity? Self-doubt coiled in my gut, cold and tight. What if this changed us forever? The friendship we'd carved out, fragile as the apartment's thin walls. I curled my knees up, arms wrapping around them. Fear of the shift gnawed deeper, whispering that I'd ruined it all. Memories surfaced then, unbidden. Like the woman from college, Elena. We'd shared a dorm room too, late nights whispering dreams under the hum of fluorescent lights. I'd confessed one rainy afternoon, words spilling as thunder rolled outside. Her face had softened at first, eyes wide with surprise. But days later, she packed her things, voice flat. "It's too much," she'd said, suitcase thudding against the doorframe. Authenticity had cost me then, nights alone, the echo of her laughter gone. Another time, in my early 20s, Sarah. We met at a bar, her fingers brushing mine over shared drinks, the air thick with smoke and possibility. I told her everything, heart pounding like it did now. She pulled away, slow, excuses piling up. Lost the job that followed, the city that felt like home. Each time, truth led to loss, stakes rising like floodwater. Here, with her, it felt higher. Our lives intertwined, rent split, routines synced, one wrong turn and the foundation cracked. I wondered about her side. In the quiet of my room, I pictured her at the window, staring into the dark street. Her internal struggle must mirror mine, tangled with questions of identity. She'd hinted at attractions before, unnamed pulls toward women in her past. But naming it with me, our bond as roommates, as friends, it blurred lines she'd maybe drawn firm. Did she fear the label? The weight of it in a world that still whispered judgments? Or was it us, specifically, the risk of turning safe harbor into storm? I heard her footsteps later, soft across the floorboards. Her door closed with a gentle thud. She was wrestling too, I knew. The empathy in her eyes earlier now turned inward. Struggling to reconcile the friend she knew with the woman who loved her. It heightened everything. The uncertainty, a shared shadow. Outside our walls, pressures simmered subtle. Friends from work texted that week, assuming our setup was pure platonic. "Roomy date night," one messaged, emoji hearts trailing. They saw us as sisters in the city, unbreakable, but safe. No room for more. Societal whispers crept in too, overheard at the coffee shop, two women sharing a glance too long. Eyes narrowing, murmurs about those types. It wasn't overt, but it lingered, like grit under nails, made me question if we'd ever step out without that weight. Our apartment, once a bubble, felt exposed now. What if word spread? The assumptions could twist into something uglier. The next morning dawned gray, light filtering weak through the blinds. I emerged cautious, the scent of coffee pulling me to the kitchen. She was there, pouring from the pot, movements deliberate. Our eyes met, then skittered away. Awkward silence settled, thicker than the steam rising from mugs. I grabbed a bowl, cereal clinking against porcelain. She slid a spoon over, our fingers not touching this time. Lingering glances darted, hers questioning, mine guarded. "How'd you sleep?" she asked, voice even but strained. "Fine," I lied, spoon scraping louder than needed. We ate like that, words sparse, the air heavy with unsaid. Normalcy attempted, but it cracked at the edges. Her laugh didn't come when I mentioned the rain. My smile felt forced, over toast. Lunch echoed it. Sandwiches on the couch, TV murmuring in the background. She shifted closer once, then away. Glances held longer, charged now. I caught her watching my hands as I folded a napkin. The same hands that had clenched in panic last night. Silence stretched again, broken only by the remote's click. Attempts at routine felt like walking on silt, shifting, uncertain. By evening, the apartment hummed with tension, unspoken words piling like unwashed dishes. That night, I turned to the journal again. Desk lamp warm on my face, pen scratching paper. Words flowed frantic, confronting the need that burned. Self-expression had always been my release, ink holding what lips couldn't. But risks loomed larger now. Exposure not just to her, but to myself. What if writing it made it real, irreversible? Yet hiding choked me, the secret a stone in my throat. I wrote of the fear, the pull toward honesty despite the fall. Pages filled with doubts, but also resolve. Journaling wasn't escape anymore. It was claiming space, voice rising quiet but firm, even if it scared me. Days blurred that way, normalcy, a thin veil. Shared meals grew shorter, glances more loaded. Friends' texts kept coming, oblivious assumptions grating. "You're so lucky to have a roomie like her," one said. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. Lucky, yes. But the whispers outside, judgments on queer bonds, on women stepping beyond lines, pressed in. It made our space feel smaller, the world larger in its scrutiny. Her perspective weighed on me, too. Imagined struggles with identity clashing against our tie. Flashbacks to my losses replayed. Stakes sharpening. Change terrified, but stagnation hurt. Then came the evening walk. Rain had cleared, air crisp with the scent of wet earth. She suggested it casual, coat in hand. "Need to clear my head," she said, eyes meeting mine direct. I nodded, grabbing my jacket. We stepped out, streetlights, pooling gold on pavement. Footsteps synced at first, then slowed. The unresolved hung between us, heavy as the dusk. She stopped under a tree, branches dripping faint. "We can't keep dancing around this," she said, voice low. Her gaze pulled me in, forcing the tension to surface. I felt it then, the need to face it head on. No more retreats. We stood under that tree, the branches still dripping from the earlier rain, each drop hitting the leaves with a soft patter. Her words hung in the air, pulling me closer, despite the chill seeping through my jacket. I nodded, throat tight. "You're right. We need to talk. Really talk." We walked on, slower now, the sidewalk slick under our shoes. Streetlights cast long shadows and the city hummed distant, cars whispering past, a dog barking somewhere down the block. She started first, voice low against the evening quiet. "I've been thinking about what you wrote, about us. It scared me at first, seeing it all laid out, but it also opened something." I glanced at her, the side of her face lit soft in the glow. "Opened what?" "Fears I've kept buried." She paused, kicking a loose pebble that skittered into the gutter. "In queer spaces, I've always felt on the edge. Like I go to those events, the bars, the meetups, but vulnerability there? It's a risk. Women watching, judging if you're real enough or too much. I've hidden parts of me, afraid if I show them, it'll push people away, like with you." Her honesty unraveled me, layers peeling back, raw and real. "I get that. Hiding feels safer, but it eats at you." We turned a corner, the wind picking up, carrying the scent of wet concrete and distant food trucks. "What about us scares you most?" She stopped again, leaning against a low wall, hands tucked into her pockets. "Losing the friendship if this doesn't work, but also admitting I feel it too. The pull. In those spaces, it's easy to flirt, keep it light. Here with you, it's deep, every day. What if I mess it up?" We talked like that for blocks, words flowing freer under the open sky. She shared stories, nights at a women's group where she'd sat silent, heart thudding, too afraid to voice her doubts. A past fling that ended because she couldn't open up. The woman calling her guarded, distant. "I don't want that with you," she said, eyes meeting mine steady. "I want to try." The walk stretched, honest beats building something solid between us. By the time we looped back to the apartment, the air felt lighter, charged, but not heavy. We climbed the stairs, her hand brushing mine on the railing. Deliberate this time, fingers lingering. Inside, the space welcomed us, warmer. She suggested cooking, pulling ingredients from the fridge, onions, garlic, rice from that market down the street. Team effort, she said, a small smile breaking through. I nodded, grabbing a knife, the wooden handle familiar in my palm. We moved in sync, her chopping while I heated oil in the pan, the sizzle filling the kitchen. Shoulders bumped in the tight space. Not accidental now. Her laugh came when I fumbled the spices, a light sound that eased the knot in my chest. Here, like this, she said, stepping behind me, her hand covering mine on the spoon. Warmth spread from her touch, steady and sure. We stirred together, breaths mingling over the steam, the scent of cumin and tomatoes rising thick. Dinner stretched into the night, plates pushed aside as talk turned deeper. Shared glances held longer, testing boundaries, the way her foot nudged mine under the table, or how I'd reach for her glass, fingers grazing. Intimacy built slow, like the flavors layering in the pot. But doubts lingered, shadows in the corners. Later, we stepped onto the fire escape for stargazing. The city sprawled below us, a sea of lights. Blanket draped over our laps, her shoulder pressed to mine. The sky above was patchy, clouds drifting, but a few stars pierced through. Look there, she pointed, her arm across my back. I leaned in, head on her shoulder. The flannel of her shirt soft against my cheek. Her scent, soap and faint sweat from the walk, grounded me. We talked dreams then, quiet under the night. Her fears of settling in a world that boxed her in, mine of never finding someone who saw the full me. Boundaries tested, her hand found mine in the dark, thumb tracing my knuckles. Hope flickered, small but real. But my overthinking crept in, as it always did. The next day, storm clouds gathered, mirroring the turmoil inside. Rain lashed the windows, gray light flooding the apartment. I retreated to my room after breakfast. Her question, "You okay?" hanging unanswered. Thoughts swirled. What if this was too fast? What if her openness faded, leaving me exposed again? I paced, floorboards creaking under my steps, the weight pressing down like the low sky outside. She knocked later, voice soft through this door. We need to talk about this distance. I let her in, sitting on the bed, knees drawn up. I'm overthinking, I admitted, voice tight. Scared it'll fall apart. She sat beside me, close, but not touching. Pushing me away won't fix it. Open up. That's what we're trying for. Her words pushed, gentle, but firm. Calling out the walls I rebuilt in quiet moments. Conflict rose. Me pulling back, her drawing me out. I feel it too, the fear, she said. But hiding makes it worse. Remember the walk? We started something. Don't stop now. The rain pounded harder, thunder rumbling distant, echoing the storm in my chest. Sensory chaos outside matched the inner churn. Wind rattling the panes, water sluicing down like tears unshed. I nodded, exhaling slow. You're right. It's hard, letting go of control. We sat through it, her hand on my arm, steadying. The conflict eased as rain slowed, clouds parting to slivers of blue. Clearing skies mirrored the shift. Hope peeking through, tentative. See? She said, glancing out. Storms pass. That mutual support deepened over days. One evening, work hit me hard. A call from family, old wounds reopening about my choices, my life here. I came home. Drained, shoulders slumped, the door thudding heavier than usual. She noticed immediately, pulling me to the couch without a word. Tell me, she said, legs tucked under her, eyes soft, words spilled, judgments from afar, the isolation of being the different one. She listened, hand on my knee, warm through my jeans. You're not alone in that, she whispered. Her own low came next, a rough shift at the bookstore, a customer's sharp words about lifestyle choices. We leaned into each other, tears shared, the tie strengthening in the vulnerability. Her embrace later, arms wrapping tight, revealed how feelings wove deeper, not just attraction, but foundation. I turned to the journal more, not as hiding now, but authenticity. Pages filled with resolve, entries about her laugh during cooking, the starlight in her eyes, no more containment. Writing claimed the truth, voice rising. One night, I read a passage aloud. Voice steady. This is me, all of it. She listened, nodding, her approval a quiet anchor. Challenges arose still, my overthinking sparking arguments, like when I questioned her silences, fearing retreat. You're pushing again, she'd say, frustration edging her tone. But we'd circle back, talks unraveling more layers, her fears in queer spaces shared deeper, the ache of not fitting, the pull toward connection, despite it. With you, it feels possible, she'd admit. Shared moments built it. Another cooking night, laughter over burned edges, stargazing where hands laced without hesitation, boundaries blurred, intimacy testing but holding. The stormy weather passed, skies clearing to crisp nights, hope solidifying. Then came the culminating private moment. Rain gone, air fresh. We sat on the couch after dinner, wine glasses half full on the table. The lamp cast warm pools, shadows soft. Her knee pressed mine, deliberate. No more barriers, she said, voice low, hand reaching for mine. I met her gaze, heart thudding but open, fingers intertwined, the touch electric yet safe. We leaned in, foreheads touching, breaths sinking. The world narrowed to us, the faint tick of the clock, her warmth seeping through. Barriers dropped fully, vulnerability raw but shared. I'm ready, I whispered. She smiled, small and real, pulling me closer. We stayed like that on the couch, foreheads pressed together, the world fading to the rhythm of our breaths. Her hand in mine felt like an anchor, steady through the swirl in my chest. I pulled back just enough to see her eyes, dark and searching in the lamplight. I need to say it fully, I whispered, voice thick. I love you, not the safe kind, the kind that scares me because it could break me. She exhaled slow, her thumb tracing my palm, sending warmth up my arm. I love you too. The words landed soft but sure. No hesitation. Her gaze held mine, vulnerability raw in the lines around her eyes. It's been building. Those moments, the walks, the cooking, I feel it deep, like something I've waited for without knowing. The confession hung between us, intense, pulling us closer. But doubts flickered still, shadows in the quiet. What if it's not balanced? I asked, voice cracking. What if one of us pulls back when it gets hard? I've lost before because of that fear. She shifted, knee pressing firmer against mine, the denim rough under my hand. We address it now, together. Her tone was firm, laced with that empathy she carried like a second skin. Imbalance scares me too. In past relationships, I'd give everything, hold back nothing, and it drained me. With you, I want equal. Fears shared, not hidden. We talked then, words tumbling in the close space, the faint scent of wine lingering on our breaths. I shared the imbalance I'd felt before, pouring out my heart while the other held pieces back, leaving me exposed and hollow. It made me build walls, I said, fingers tightening in hers. But with you, I want to tear them down. No more half-truths. She nodded, her free hand rising to cup my cheek, calluses soft from bookstore shifts grazing my skin. I've been the one holding back, afraid of seeming too much. In queer spaces, that fear sticks, wondering if opening up makes you vulnerable to judgment. But here, with us, it's different. We balance by being honest. Your feelings, mine, they match. Deep. The intensity built, air thickening with the weight of it. My heart thudded hard, each beat echoing in my ears. Promise me we'll talk through the fears. No retreating. I promise, she said, voice low and steady. Her eyes never left mine, pulling me in deeper. The confrontation peaked there, emotions cresting like a wave, raw, unfiltered. Tears pricked my eyes, not from pain, but release. Hers glistened too, the lamplight catching them. Then came the peak, physical and emotional, tangled. Tentative at first, her hand slid from my cheek to the nape of my neck, fingers threading into my hair. The touch sent shivers down my spine, warm and electric. I leaned in, breath catching, our lips brushing soft, hesitant, testing. It deepened slow, her mouth warm against mine, tasting of wine and truth. My arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer, the couch creaking under us. We broke apart gasping, foreheads touching again, but the embrace held. Her arms encircled me fully now, strong and affirming, chin resting on my shoulder. The press of her body grounded me, heartbeat syncing with mine through our shirts. That, I murmured into her neck, felt right. Yeah, she breathed, hands stroking my back in slow circles. It did. The peak lingered, emotions flooding, joy mixed with the remnants of fear, but stronger now, affirmed in the hold. We pulled back slightly, still entwined, the journal catching my eye on the coffee table, its cover worn, pages filled with my secrets. This started it all, I said, reaching for it, fingers brushing the leather. The words I hid. She took it gently, opening to a marked page, her eyes scanning the familiar scrawl. These words freed us. Don't stop writing them. Her voice held encouragement, steady as her touch. Honesty like this. It's our foundation. Share with me. Anytime. No more hiding. I nodded, throat tight. The integration felt natural. The journal no longer a solitary confessional, but a bridge. It was my way of coping, I admitted. But now it's more. Self-expression without fear. Exactly, she said, setting it aside, hand returning to mine. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's strength. In our relationship, it builds us up. We discussed it then, doubts fading under the light of realization. Think about it, she continued, voice thoughtful. All those times I held back, fearing imbalance, it kept us stuck. But opening up, it evens the scales. Your courage with the journal showed me how. Overcoming the doubts came in waves, conversation weaving through the night. I've doubted myself so long, I said, leaning into her side, the couch soft beneath us. Hiding feelings to keep the peace, but this, us, proves vulnerability, strengthens. It lets us see each other fully. She squeezed my hand, her laugh soft, a rumble against my ear. And it redefines everything. Our shared life isn't just routine anymore. It's chosen, deep. The apartment, the walks, they hold more now. We're not roommates hiding. We're partners, building something real. The broader empowerment settled in, reflective and warm. I thought of the past losses, the women who'd slipped away when truth surfaced. But here, self-expression had freed us, fostering a connection unshakable. It changes how I see myself, I whispered. No more fragments. Whole, with you. Her arm tightened around me, the embrace affirming it all. Same. This vulnerability, it's empowering, redefines our life together. From friends skirting edges to this, hearts open, no barriers. We sat in the quiet after, the clock ticking soft, city sounds muffled outside. Realization dawned full. Self-expression as the key, unlocking not just feelings, but freedom. The journal lay closed nearby, a symbol of that shift. Our breaths evened, bodies relaxed in the hold, the peak easing into calm. Fade to that reflective peace, emotions settled but alive. The lamplight dimmed as we talked softer, plans forming vague, more walks, shared entries in the journal perhaps. The payoff hummed between us, a quiet strength born from the unraveling, but it wasn't over. The night stretched, her head on my shoulder, fingers laced. We're in this, she murmured, fully. I smiled into the dark, the weight lifted, connection true and deep. The apartment felt different then, walls holding our secrets no more, but our truths. Empowerment rippled out, from that couch, from the journal's pages, to the life we'd redefined together. Vulnerability had bridged the gap, turning fear to foundation. And in that calm, I knew we'd face whatever came. Hands held, hearts open. We lay there on the couch as the night deepened, her head resting on my shoulder, the journal closed on the table beside us like a chapter finished. Our hands stayed laced, fingers intertwined, the warmth of her skin a quiet promise. The apartment hummed soft around us, the faint tick of the clock, the distant murmur of the city outside. But in that moment, it was just us, hearts open, no more walls between. Her breath evened against my neck, steady and real, and I felt the weight lift fully, replaced by something solid, unbreakable. Vulnerability had done this. Not torn us apart, but woven us tighter. I'd spent so long hiding, journaling in shadows to contain the ache, fearing truth would shatter our bond. But sharing it, raw, unfiltered, built something stronger. Self-expression freed us, turning secret yearnings into shared strength. No more fragments. We were whole together, redefining our life from guarded friends to partners who chose openness every day. The realization settled deep. Bonds like this, forged in honesty, couldn't break. They bent, they held, they grew. If this story touched your own hidden truths, the pull of unspoken feelings, the fear and hope and vulnerability, subscribe for more tales of authentic connection in women's lives. Share in the comments. What's one secret you've let out that changed everything for you?